Hello and welcome to another Shared Screens review. Joining me as part of Shared Screens to talk all things Gotham Knights, we have Leigherin as the
Hi.
lead reviewer. Her first time leading a review, and it's going to be spectacular. Joining us
Nice.
also as part of Shared Screens, we have Jordan Deeb and Alec Bobko. How we doing, everyone?
I'm good.
Fantastic.
I'm so excited to be on the gaming side of our channel. I
We're
feel like a
excited to have
kid.
you. Welcome.
I feel like a kid at the adult table for the first time.
You're not here
You
much,
shouldn't.
but make
You
yourself
shouldn't.
at
There's
home.
nothing adult about this.
Help yourself
Especially
to a
because I'm
drink.
sitting on a cushion so that my camera can see me because gamers chairs are not made for short people. Oh my god.
My gaming chair, I bought one in black and it came in blue, and I was very upset about it. But here we are, still using it. I'm mad about it.
If you close your eyes,
And
Squint.
it'll be black.
everything's black, I guess. All right, we're talking everything at Gotham Knights today. But if you're watching right now, which I hope you are, anyone that would make sense. What other content would we have, everyone? Alec, Jordan, Leigherin, what other content have we had go up recently?
This is the waypoint went up today about Andor.
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet, so I can't comment on it, but it happened.
It
Good
happened.
episode.
It's up there.
There's very good
We-
intro edited by Chris. If you want to see what that intro is.
Oh my god.
And then
We,
we also
Over there.
had Plague Tale Requiem review, one up
Correct.
earlier this week.
It's one of the best thumbnails I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you.
love
I
it so
was
much.
laughing so hard making that thumbnail.
I
It's just one of those I
showed
saw
my, I showed my wife. I'm not used to saying that. My wife. I showed my wife, and she's just like, really, like, which is a positive thing. Trust me, it's not like a disdain. Really, it's just really.
Well, you see,
I'm like,
because I feel like you almost would have to show what the image is without, you there, and just to get the context of
okay.
why I did it that way.
give that a view. If not, just take a look at the thumbnail at the very least. It's worth your time.
We
fun.
also have our 2-year anniversary podcast where it's it was me,
You,
Alec, Leigherin,
Chris,
Bo,
Bo.
Chris,
Yep.
just kind of reminiscing and looking back on 2 years of shared screens, and it's been a ride.
It's been a
Put it
fucking
lightly.
time, friends.
It's been a time for sure. Okay, so Gotham Knights. Before we get to Leigherin, before she takes it away and just blows our minds with her mad reviewing skills, Jordan and Alec, just surface level thoughts. Either one of you can go. I don't care. I'll pick Jordan. Go first. Surface level.
There's so many things I can say about Gotham Knights. I feel like the best way to sum it up is this game is what the public thinks Marvel's Avengers is. And
does
I
that mean?
don't say that as a way to
Yeah.
defend Avengers. Like, Alec is agreeing with me, and me and Alec played a lot of Avengers when it first launched. And even that at launch compared to this is like, this is what people think that is.
Wait,
This
so
game.
my follow-up question to that, and I just want an answer. I don't want to get too into the weeds about this. Are you saying definitively Marvel's Avengers is a better game than Gotham Knights, and like it's
Ab-
easy to tell that?
Jordan thinks,
Absolutely.
but Jordan
Oh,
thinks Marvel
no.
Avengers is a good game.
Okay, I
So
think it is.
saying
I think
objectively.
it is a. I think it is a decent game. I've said the game has its flaws.
You've
I
said
just-
multiple times it is a good
Didn't want
game,
this-
and people are too hard on it.
Yes,
Which is why
but
I'm
I
just
also
saying
have-
Jordan is
I've-
not a good judge to compare the two
I
because
agree.
Jordan really likes Avengers.
Okay, that's the thing. I'm not even getting Brett to back me up here. I'm getting Alec to back me up. And I feel like I could get other people to agree.
Fair enough. Okay. Continue your service level thoughts. I had to follow up with that question because if you can easily say that Marvel's Avengers is a better game than Gotham Knights, like that's not good for Gotham Knights in my opinion. But here we go.
No, basically I think that's just the quickest way to sum it up. But like my other surface level thoughts, and this is something that I've said for the past really 2 years since both these games got announced. This game and Suicide Squad should have switched developers. It doesn't make sense that a game taking place after the death of Batman with all his proteges with this, very takedowny style combat is not in the Arkhamverse, and then the one about the Suicide Squad killing the Justice League is in the Arkhamverse. And so just from a story perspective, I feel like it's very weird that they weren't, let alone the fact that this is getting compared to Arkham. There's no way around it.
Okay. We'll get
and
into
so-
like the nitty gritty because like Arkham to me is like stellar combat in my opinion, but like we'll get
Literally
into
my
that. We'll get into
my
that
two
later.
thoughts playing this game is oh, I should get back into Avengers. It's been a minute, and I should replay the Arkham games.
Okay, fair enough.
And
Alright,
that's
Alec?
where I'll leave my general thoughts.
All right. Well, for me, the biggest thing is, the marketing was all about the Court of Owls, and this being a story about the Bat family fighting the Court of Owls. I'm only
Trailers are
about
cool.
6 hours in, and I literally just heard Court of Owls. I haven't even seen any Court of Owls. I'm 6 hours into this game. That is ridiculous. If that is your whole marketing push, your villain should not even be first mentioned. You should see them way earlier than 6 hours in. And I know I did some side content, but still, that's ridiculous. Some more general stuff like gameplay, like the controls just did not feel great to me. WB Montreal and Rocksteady had a damn near perfect system with the attack and counter and then your gadget wheel in the Arkham series. They had no reason to change that, but they did. And they're trying to make this a looter shooter kind of loot game, Division, Destiny, whatever. But they're taking the loot, the endorphin rush of getting the loot out by making it all craftable. You open a chest and you just get crafting materials. You don't get an item, which is just mind blowing. But the story seems interesting so far, where I'm at, but honestly, I'm not sure if I'll continue. Like, there's so many other games I want to play right now that this is probably just going to get shoved to the back of my backlog.
Fair enough. Okay. Leigherin, take us away. Let's start with the good, the positive things we want to talk about the Gotham Knights.
Okay, first I'm going to start with a disclaimer that I said to Austin before we started recording, but that I'm just going to put out there. I love Batman. He is my favorite. I love everything associated with Batman. I love all his little baby children. Like, I love Batman. I read everybody's comics. I read Red Hood. I read Batgirl, Nightwing. Like, I truly am a hoe for everything that's kind of like Gotham-esque, because in the New 52, they brought in like Black Canary and Green Arrow into that kind of like grouping. I love it. It's absolutely my shit. Like, I got Batgirl back here. Like, I love Batman. So I think I'm a little biased because I do really like this story, and DC as a rule is afraid of putting the four together without Bruce. Or without Jason or Dick just being annoying to a level that, like, I don't want to handle it. But so we'll start with the good, because that's quicker. I do think the story is dope. I do agree with Alex. The advertising for what the game was about was misleading, but I also understand why. Like, knowing how the story fully progresses, I wouldn't have wanted to put certain elements of the game in the advertising. I would want to keep it secret. It's like a weird, like, I understand why. I don't know what I think they should have led with in the advertising, but the advertising was misleading. And I just think, like, the story is, yeah. The story is,
that just wasn't it.
Yeah. The story is very good, especially because they do have side quests called Heroic Tales for each of the four, which is about their individual relationship with Bruce and being their respective character. So you have Babs, it's her struggles with, because this was in the trailer, it's not a spoiler, Jim Gordon is dead as well. So her whole storyline has to do with her relationship with Bruce and her relationship with her dad and being Batgirl. I also, again, with the marketing not being great, in the game they established she did not learn how to walk again after being shot in the spine through sheer force of will. They do establish that it was surgery and a lot of physical therapy.
They originally wrote it to be sheer force of will.
They originally wrote it where it really just sounded like sheer force of will.
Fair enough. Comics.
And Jason has a great storyline about, like, dealing with his anger. Dick's storyline is the roughest out of all of them, because it's just what it always is with Nightwing, where, like, being Nightwing is hard, but so is just being Bruce Wayne's son. And, like, I just don't care. If you want that storyline, go read any of Nightwing's comics. They're all about that. Like, and Tim's is really interesting because rather than him just being a goofball, he's really going through it because this is his first major trauma. His parents are well, one of them's dead, one of them's paralyzed, but he wasn't close to them to begin with. He hasn't lost siblings. He didn't watch anyone get murdered. He hasn't been killed and brought back to life. This is his first really big trauma. And so the rest of them are like, oh, we know what we're doing. Like, it's fine. We're not going to deal with our emotions. And he's just kind of like left behind.
What a lame superhero. My God.
And the Easter eggs in this game are so good. They are so good. There is an entire element of this game which is just your email inbox. Nothing important happens in the inbox, but there are so many fun Easter eggs. Like, I have where my little
And is it to the level like you have to be your level of expertise to understand it, or are they pretty surface level for some?
No,
of
they're
them?
pretty.
There was an email thread I had where Tim Drake was just like, "Hey, let's start a podcast."
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's both, and I'm just gonna say that.
There are some deep cuts. Like, they reference Black Canary's band at one point, which was only canon in the New 52. They did release, DC Comics released music that is really, really good. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
And they reference her band. Like, she sends Barbara an interview that she did. That's really, really cool.
I'll write that one down.
They referenced like the stupid headcanon that the internet started that Tim Drake doesn't sleep, he just drinks a lot of coffee. They reference it in this game. It's so fun. However, this was absolutely written by 40-year-old men who do not know how 20-year-olds speak to each other because the dialogue is so cringy at times.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like, how they introduce Jason's PTSD is him and Barbara playing Just Dance, like a spooky version of Just Dance that involves him, like, it's like if you've missed the step, the tube you're in fills with water and you're a skeleton. And the point is, like, and so he has like a PTSD flashback and it's just very cringy. And like, I don't understand why Just Dance had to be the introduction. There are like 8,000 other things that could have been the introduction. But then you get a really, really great scene or email thread between Jason and Dick talking about Jason starting a charity for underprivileged children in Gotham so that they don't end up like him or don't end up in gangs. And it's like, so there are some really, really great story elements that you're like, yes. And then there are just they say some things that you're like,
I will say that it's definitely not unheard of for video games to have cringy dialogue. That's that's how video games are. Like, they're the ones that don't do it, they stand out. Yeah, exactly. Like, if like VO is like serviceable, you're like, cool, that's a win. Like, cool, they did it, they nailed it.
Yeah, and like, it's fine. And like, there are some points that I think are cringy just because, like, if you don't like puns, half of Nightwing's comments are stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
Now, the other thing I'm going to say as a disclaimer is I'm not a huge gamer. This is my first PC game. This is my first one not playing on a Nintendo GameCube or a Switch.
We're very proud of you.
My understanding of mechanics and all of that kind of stuff is very much academic. It's what I learned in my writing for video games class. So there are certain things I am probably... What?
I said, what a cool class. I wish
it was such a cool class, but it's where I learned I don't want to write for video games. It's hard. But so there's definitely some things that are going to have bothered Jordan that I didn't really give a shit about because, like, I don't know any better. Like, truly, that's what it comes down to. 99% of the video games I'm playing, I'm replaying games on my GameCube. So, like,
I do think that is a smart disclaimer at the top to get, like, games aren't necessarily your foray. What's that?
Yeah,
Forte.
Something else I'm thinking of, but there's something else. Anyway, but
however, sorry, go ahead.
My second thought is gone now, so continue.
However, the level design to this game is the most chaotic thing I've ever seen in my goddamn life. And this kind of connects to the ads. Is in the advertising, it made it look like, yes, the Court of Owls was the main villain, but it's also in the chaos of Batman dying. And maybe this was audiences made a stupid assumption, but like in the chaos of Batman not being around, because obviously the public doesn't. Yes.
How does that take place in the game? His death.
In the very first cutscene, I never say his name right.
Ra's
Liam
al
Neeson in
Ghul.
Batman Begins. Thank
It's
you.
actually they say it Raish in the game. It's supposed to be Ross Al Ghul.
No
It's
one
Joss?
ever pronounces it the same way, Joss.
Okay.
No one ever pronounces it the same way, and so I don't know what the canon
I
is.
say Raz.
Okay.
I say Raz Al
It's-
Ghul because that's how I
His
hear it
name
in
is
movies.
Arabic for head of the demon. It's Ras Al Ghul.
So
Or
the
you
other
just say
reason that
Al.
people get into it with saying Ross is in some canons he is a white man who took an Arabic name, and so everybody's like, yeah,
Oh.
he probably does say it Ross.
It's been around for so long. I feel like it's. I'm not gonna cancel him for of all the things Ras Al Ghul has done. I'm
I'm
not
done.
canceling him for taking on an Arabic name. To be
but-
fair, Muhammad Ali.
Discord, stop telling me. Is Muhammad? Oh wait, never mind. We're not going to talk about this. I don't know anything about sports.
He
We're not going to go down this
converted
road
and
right now.
changed his name, which is a totally fine thing to do. But that was not his birth name.
However, they made it look like, so yes, in the game, it opens with a huge battle between Al Ghul and Bruce. It destroys the Batcave. They both end up dying. And that kind of jumpstarts it.
Okay, I guess my question leading into that, because if someone's watching the interview, they probably experienced that. But like, is it established like right away?
Yes.
That he's
Yes.
dead, and it's not
It's
like
literally the
'cause,
first
like,
thing in the game.
like, okay,
The
so
first
like within
10
like
minutes.
20 minutes, you understand why and how that all went down, and then you're
Oh, yeah.
continuing on.
Yeah.
Like
as
it's
the character.
literally like you hit new game and it is the first thing you
It
see.
starts. Yeah.
It is like a JRPG length cutscene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a long
one.
cutscene.
fair enough.
And establishes that you see the beginning of the "If you're watching this, I'm dead" video that he sends out to the four of them, and that whole thing.
I was just curious because I'm oftentimes like I'm okay with long cutscenes, but sometimes if you had to get a lot of lore in something right at the top, that could be like an hour long introduction, and I hate that in video games. Like we had to establish all these things right at the top, gameplay and why in the narrative. But yeah, if they just established that, because that was a big part of the trailer, so I was just wondering when they established that. So
Yeah, they establish it right away, and they very quickly establish Bruce Wayne has publicly died. They have not announced that Batman died. Batman, to the citizens of Gotham, has just vanished, and they don't really know why. And in the advertising, we were led to believe that in the wake of Batman vanishing, Mr. Freeze and Clayface and Harley and all of his like villains except the Joker, they were very clear that the Joker was not going to be in the game.
Thank God.
God.
That they were going fucking bananas on their own. And so you were fighting all that, and like it heavily implied they were working with the Court of Owls. That's not really the case. Everything with the other villains are side quests. The only one they force you to start the side quest, and then you cannot touch them for 6 days, and it doesn't matter. The main story's level designs, it's broken down into case files. So there are 8 case files. Each one has like 1 or 2 parts. And the level design is chaos because 99% of the time, how you start a level is you are literally just hanging out in Gotham trying to find the right crime to interrogate the right person to move forward, which is why I was not able to finish the game, because the last part of one of the fucking levels is that you have to find 3 people in Gotham, and you can't fast travel, because to fast travel, you have to destroy all these police drones. And it starts out that destroying the police drones is going to be easy. And then you do one and it immediately gets way harder. And like you have to do this in every sector of the map.
Is that different from the scanning?
Yes, so you scan, when you do the first one, you
okay.
scan it. The next time you find an X drone, Lucius is going to go, shit, they're on to us. It has a shield now to keep it from being scanned. So you have to find its dock, wait for it to dock,
Right.
then scan it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done all those.
That is so goddamn annoying.
I didn't even put the effort in.
I did by accident.
See,
I didn't
I did it
understand
because
what it was.
this is just one of those gripes with the game. The traversal sucks. Aside from
The
that
traversal
side.
does suck.
The traverse.
So
from
the-
that's why I
The traveling across long distances beyond like walking. That's traversal, and it sucks. So you have 3 options for traversal, 4 technically, but 4 options for traversal travel. You have walking, obviously, and then you have and grappling, obviously. But the grappling mechanic
that.
sucks because you can't just. It's not like Spider-Man or that where you can just like shoot, or life, where you could just like shoot the grappling
The
gun at
Arkham
any
games
ledge.
let you grapple pretty much anywhere.
I don't confuse me with what the Arkham games can do and can't do. I've never played the Arkham games. I know
I'm
nothing
just
about
letting
them.
you know
Please
if
do
you
not
wanted to
confuse
make a
me.
better comparison.
I feel like any game in the year of our Lord and
Oh,
Savior
yeah.
Jesus Christ, 2022, you should be able to do that. But you have to wait for a little circle pops up, and then you hit the button and
Specific
it
grapple
takes
points.
you. And like it drives me fucking crazy. Stop calling me.
I will agree with that, because usually when games show the grappling hook, people are like, yes, the grappling hook, and then 50% of the time, I would say it's a pretty even split. It's never what you think it is.
Yeah.
With the grappling hook or how you traverse, it's never what you think it is. It's always like a letdown to some level. So I mean,
So
if any
then-
game was gonna do that, Gotham Knights still seems like it fits so far. So
Yeah.
So those are your two main ones that you start the game with. You also have the bat cycle, which you can like press a button, it appears, like
that's
a
good?
horse.
Is that what we
Yeah.
said?
It's all right.
It's fine if when you're riding it, it feels like Need for Speed, so I'm having a great time. Like it just
Ruins
plays
your
fun
frame
music and you
rate.
go really Oh yeah, but your frame rate drops like crazy whenever you're on the bike and going
Oh,
at a high
no.
speed.
I
Also,
was
the game
I was just gonna say, I was keeping record of how low my frame rate could go. 10 is the lowest I've gotten.
This is what I mean that I don't give a shit about this. Jordan ranted at me for 20
See-
minutes about how the frame rate was so low. I don't care. I
See,
barely
mine
noticed,
was-
except when we're on the bike.
Mine was all right. Like I would get kind of dips every now and then, but nothing like that was awful.
Mine is literally only when I'm on the bike and only if I'm going very fast. So those are your main ways. And then for some unforsaken reason, they made it so that you can't glide right away. And I get it to
Pretty
an
normal.
extent
Unfortunately,
because I understand that only Batgirl and Tim have capes and that canonically Dick and Jason cannot glide because they don't have an apparatus with which to glide. I get it. However, I think it's a little ridiculous to set different they're called the knighthood challenges. 3 different challenges for each person to be able to have the gliding thing and then have it be Barbara can glide. Dick has this weird Fortnite glider thing that you still can't take very far. It's still just you jump off a building
float.
and glide. Yeah.
Looks like
And
a
then-
Fortnite glider, but it doesn't let you go forward the way Fortnite does.
Yeah. And then
Oh, gotcha.
Jason
Mary
can run
Poppins.
across
He has a
dead
leap,
people.
a mystical leap, is what they call
Ooh.
it.
Yeah. And that's just you run
Okay.
across dead people. Like it's
Basically,
spirits.
you just
it's
leap in
literally
midair.
spirits of the
You could have
Lazarus
said
pit.
anything at that moment. Dead people
didn't-
was not what I thought was going
You
to be.
step on the souls of the damned.
Yeah, it's souls
Anything.
of people who have been put in the Lazarus pit that he now carries inside him after
Who's
being
this?
put in the pit. Jason
Red
Todd.
Hood.
Red Hood. Okay, that makes a little.
I think
So-
it's because, and again, sorry, Alec, go ahead.
I was gonna say, since we're just talking about this whole thing, the cutscene when you finally unlock that is hilarious.
Is it? I haven't seen it yet because
So
I just didn't want to
basically-
bother.
You go and because you have to go to back to the Belfry, which is your like base of operations, and there's a Batman memorial where you see his cowl, his cape, and then like one of his gauntlets. And you look at his cowl, or Red Hood or Jason Todd, and you look at his cowl, and then like kind of a music cue happens, and then all of a sudden just like blue plasma stuff kind of starts glowing around your arms,
That happens when you play Just Dance too.
and it's just like, what? Like, you're telling me that just looking at Batman unlocked this like mystical power for you?
The only one I think it makes sense with, because Tim uses boom tubes are his whole kind of thing. It's like he
Yeah.
teleports. The only one that I think, because regardless of who you're playing as, when you unlock knighthood to get the power, the last thing you have to do is go look at this thing that's Batman's cowl, one glove, and a piece of the costume. Like everybody has to do that. The only one where the cutscene makes sense, now that I know Jason's, is Barbara's, because she touches the cape and then realizes if she talks to Lucius, she can make a very similar cape. So
That
it's the
makes
only one
a
that
lot
has
more
any real
sense.
logic to it.
feel like that makes her seem really dumb, and she's not.
Well, no, because you have to remember, Barbara doesn't get any of her stuff from Lucius. Barbara makes all of her stuff on her own, so she has a limitation that the others don't. Because Jason also has the limitation because he doesn't take anything from Lucius either. He just is using general body armor that he buys online and from like an Army Navy surplus store. Tim and Dick take things from Jason until Dick gets mad or take things from Lucius until Dick gets mad because Barbara's dating his son, and it's a whole fucking thing. And it's just weird. Like the gliding, also the game will decide sometimes when you're gliding, even though you're high enough up that you can like get to where you're going, it will decide you're not going to be able to make it far enough and cause you to nosedive. And then you end up like 6 stories below where you wanted to be. And since the grappling sucks, getting up there can be hard. So yeah, the transversal travel sucks. Absolute cock. It's fucking terrible. It's upsettingly bad.
Which is why I unlocked all the fast travel
Tagline.
points.
That's our tagline on the review. That's it. That's the one.
But unless you're Alec, I do not have the patience to, because then you meet with Lucius and he's like, oh, I can give you this glider built for 1. That's essentially the fast travel. But Gotham PD, oh yeah, because in the game, Gotham PD hates you. You cannot be seen by the cops or they will beat the shit out of you.
Fantastic.
It also tells you not to hit the cops because then it just makes it worse. So there are a lot of scenes where you're trying to fight actual bad guys, but the cops are trying to beat you up because they don't agree with you being a vigilante, but you can't hit the cops. And
Also,
so like it's just a...
The cops don't give XP.
Oh yeah, because that's the other thing is you can beat up the cops all you want, but you're not going to get any XP for it. So you're basically just wasting time and taking
That's
damage.
some bullshit. My muscles are still working.
Yeah, but you will take damage. It's not like they can't, that it's like you're neutral and you can't do anything. They can fuck you up.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't do like anything else. And it's fucking annoying.
And in the dark, most of them look the same. Like the cops, the villains.
Well, that's why you got to scan.
We talked about traversal and we're kind of getting into combat. So I think we should continue on gameplay. Let's just go right into the in-depth gameplay stuff.
I think the combat's fine, depending on who you're playing as.
Do we agree?
I mean, you guys can agree or disagree. My logic is like, I don't know how much you guys played as Batgirl, but Batgirl's like range attacks are just batarangs, so they're a little difficult to use when you have, like, Jason uses guns and fake bullets. So like when somebody's running at you, you can just shoot them. And
Yep.
Dick has like the laser thing on his wrist that shoots the same. Tim and Barbara throw batarangs or similar items, and that's not as easy to hit.
Okay.
I feel like melee for all of them is fine. You're just kind of like beating the shit out of people.
Yeah.
I think Go ahead.
I stuck with Red Hood. You know, I dabbled with the quick training, like the combo training, just to get a feel for the other characters. And Red Hood felt the best to me, just because the guns felt the best for the ranged. And as you upgrade it, like it was so much easier just to keep shooting everybody rather than using the melee combat. But again, like one of my first statements of this, like they had a perfect combat system in the Arkham games. Attack and counter. Simple. Then they're like, oh, let's make it ranged and melee. And then your abilities too. It's not like in the Arkham games where you had specific takedowns where you could unlock. It's just like they're all like or linked to this momentum bar.
It reminds me of a Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
If you've ever played a Ubisoft game, it's pretty much the exact same mechanics. Where it's like you get abilities that you unlock with points you get from leveling up. This is literally, I think the only reason it didn't bother me is it's the same combat style in Immortal. Well, it's slightly better, but like a very similar combat style to Immortal Phoenix Rising, where you have your weapons, that is a sword and a bow and arrow, and then you have these abilities that you unlock as you level up. And those are like your godly powers, and you know, that is what really fucks people up. I'm a button masher though, so I'll let people who know better than me talk about it.
But see, that's why the original Arkham combat was so great. It was literally just the X button if you're looking at an Xbox controller. That's your attack button. And then whenever somebody's going to attack you, your little like Spidey sense like thing goes up, and you just hit the Y, and that's counter. It was simple.
Yeah, I never counter in
So-
any game I ever play.
Jordan, do you agree that you would have preferred just like the normal Gotham combat for
So
Arkham? Sorry.
Yeah. So this is another thing which kind of like triggered the like Avengers comparisons in my head, and I'm not going to try to do it too much, but I will explain why. Like, I agree with Alec. You guys had a very good combat system in Arkham, and remember that in the Arkham games, you got to play as Robin and Nightwing.
I think
and
it's important to remember, though, that WB Montreal made one Arkham game, and it's Arkham Origins. I
That
think
is
that's
correct.
important to remember, that I think the comparisons to Arkham are a little unfair because it was literally a different developer. The only one they made was
But they
Origins.
still made one though, so they still
They still
had
made
that
one,
system.
I
and
don't
they're-
know,
and
but
they're
Jordan
still,
told me
like,
that
sister
Origins was like
companies.
completely different, and everybody
No, it
thinks that
wasn't.
it's like a
No,
side
it
quest.
was people.
Jordan's
look
exact words to me were, "It was very different. It's a side quest. People don't take it
No,
seriously."
people took it as a side game and didn't like it, but the gameplay was basically 1-to-1.
Okay, well,
And so keep in mind that throughout the Arkham series, you did get to play as these different characters in like DLCs and stuff. And, you know, Avengers combat is very simplified and is one of the negatives of that game because it has to be, because none of those characters fight the same. Like, you look at the Spider-Man PS4 game, you look at Spider-Man and Avengers, they don't work the same because every single one of them, Black Widow, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Cap, they all have to kind of follow the same
Control scheme.
Control scheme, thank you. And so you kind of have to simplify their attacks. Here, everyone fights fairly similar. And in the Arkham games, like, you'll have like 50% of the same gadgets, and then maybe there's a gadget only Batman has, or Batman and Robin have, but like Nightwing and Batgirl don't. And like, make any combination of that for any one of these gadgets. These four fight similar enough that they could have had a more in-depth combat system.
yeah,
So-
Austin, and then I have a rebuttal to what Jordan just said.
So are you saying that if they were all very unique, you'd be more forgiving on it? Because right now, like they changed the formula and they didn't even really do that much to like improve it with how they changed it.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's
But if
the-
they were
yeah.
all very unique, you'd be more forgiving on like if this one was bad, this one's really good, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I think the part of the issue they run into too is that I don't love this game. I'm not saying that people should go buy this game, but you can tell this game was made by Batman fans. The things that are in it, it can't, like, this is not just, oh, we sat down and researched it. This has to, the things that are referenced, it has to be somebody who's like fans of
Mhm.
it.
Is that
They
just
don't use
narratively?
ranged attacks.
That's
they
more
just-
than just narratively. Okay.
Yeah, more than just, you can tell. Through costume references, like all sorts of stuff. Like, this was made by people who care about Batman and the franchise. The problem with the Batman franchise is a lot of them don't use ranged attacks. Barbara
Mhm.
Gordon, her entire fighting style is exactly what it is in the game. She sometimes uses a nightstick, but most of the time she is just doing hand-to-hand combat. That is her entire thing. She does not shoot people. She doesn't really use batarangs. Like, that's how she fights. Tim Drake is the same thing. He's got that stupid ass bow staff and hand-to-hand combat, and that's really all he does. He doesn't shoot people. He doesn't have like ranged things. Dick Grayson does not shoot people. He has his stupid little sticks that I don't remember what he calls them, the two ones.
It's charisma. I don't know how to pronounce it. A charisma stick, something like that.
Sure. Sometimes they go together and can break apart, but he's got sticks and he flips. That's his entire thing. And then you have Jason Todd, who shoots people and punches them in the face, and that's all he does. And so you sit in this really weird thing where you don't want it to be that the only one who has a ranged attack is Jason, but you also have no source material for what an accurate range attack would be, because it's not something these characters use.
Robin
And, like,
uses batarangs on occasion, like when he needs
Again,
to.
on occasion. It's not often. I love you, but you don't read Tim Drake comics. I do. He mostly uses the bow staff. Like, that's he uses it to like launch himself. Like, he is like that is his thing. I don't know how Damian fights because fuck Damian. No one reads
Fuck
Damian.
Damian Wayne.
Nobody gives a shit about Damian
Yeah.
Wayne. But the other four, the four that are in this game, I know how they fight.
The
Like, I
good
read their
ones.
comics. I know how they fight. And so you put yourself, it's always the issue that you run into with Batman is there's only so far you can go because they're so street based. Like, I don't know how to make fast travel for Jason Todd. He doesn't wear a cape and like he's not scientifically bright. Like, I don't really know how you make fast travel that feels like it fits Red Hood. Like, there's a part of me that was like, I don't envy the
Give him a
developers
jetpack.
Yeah, which like would have felt weird. Like
have
it's
him
just like
have him just call a cab.
Give him
Yeah.
like rather than having him stepped on like the souls of the damned, why don't they just give him like the kids next door like rocket boots? Because he's still wearing boots. It's still about his feet.
because
Star-Lord,
it's just
basically.
like I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Like I
That's a
do
better
not
reference
envy.
than kids next door.
Yeah. I do not envy the developers having to sit in a room and go, okay, these are things that these characters fundamentally, because like that's the other, we were talking about this morning in the Discord, that there's a whole cutscene that explains why Jason's bullets don't kill. In the comics, Jason shoots people with real bullets. Like that is his thing, that is his jive. In this game, they don't want to do that because A, it's brutal, and B, the whole thing is about Batman's codes, so they need to like have that conversation. So you're walking away from canon into because it's a video game, into a world where you kind of have to make up your own rules. And so things are going to feel weird because they don't feel like the right choice for the character. But I also don't know what a better choice would be. Because if he had a jetpack or rocket boots, I would be like, Jason Todd would not wear these. He would think these are stupid. He does not trust shit like this. There is a reason he uses guns and a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But like, that's boring. And you can't have one character that doesn't have fast travel. So, but like,
Okay.
what do you do? Like,
Fast travel is different where like I get that they had to invent something. Like I think I told you that like if this was a more like a control scheme that I think would have felt more comfortable in my hands is like they could have given Nightwing better like a longer ranged grapple to make up for the fact that he doesn't have a glider. I get when you're like you get to Jason Todd and you're like I don't know
there's
what the
nothing I
fuck
can
to do here. Do we just let him land? Can he just fall and not die? Like
yeah.
that one is tough. As for the ranged attacks, like I feel like just giving them all, with the exception of Jason again, because he keeps that motherfucking thing on him. Times two.
Multiples.
Yeah.
3. He is 3. All of his weapons are guns.
Oh.
His melee weapon is a gun. If you
Well, I
hit something,
assume that's one of the same two.
No, he pulls it out of a different place.
What does he
Oh,
pull
I
out? Oh my god.
Yeah, and they're scary. They're big pistols.
What are we talking about? Oh, okay.
I would have loved if his heavy attack was just a shotgun. Anyway,
Just bashing people.
I feel like for the ranged attacks, like you could have given them all batarangs or just made the way that they. Yeah, the batarangs I think have a better like way to control sometimes because you can.
They're not good for shooting people, let me tell you. When you got 8,000 quarter owls running at you, they're not good because you have to
8,000, oh my
aim
God.
them
They're
very
good for tripping
specifically.
them up. And like
a lot
to
of
be
enemies on
fair,
screen.
the
those
biggest
rats.
the biggest time you need to use the ranged attacks is when you start to fight the Talons.
I have a bone to pick with you about this because this is where I think Jordan is fundamentally doing something wrong. Because Jordan keeps talking about how hard it is to beat the Talons. And at a certain point, I started taking them down with one hit. You just have to use a heavy melee attack.
No, but when they're like jumping around, they say to use a heavy ranged attack to like stun
Yeah,
them.
and I can't figure out how to do it, and that has nothing to do with the
You
game.
hold
I'm a
whatever
moron.
you hold.
Yeah, and
the-
I don't know what the button is, and I can't figure it out, and every time I hit the wrong one.
It's
So
the
like
same
I
one
just
you
don't.
use for your like default ranged attack.
Okay, Jordan, you have to remember that I'm using a Switch. I'm using this controller. Because the buttons are set up like this, the computer does not read them right. So this is B, X is what is it? A is B, B is Y, Y is X, and X is A.
Okay,
have a
it's
little-
in the
jeez.
game. In the game, it's Y.
Yeah, so
So,
that
which
would
means
be
for
the
you it's
B
B.
button.
So you hold
like,
that. And
Sometimes I just miss.
No, it is very hard to aim, which goes into a mixture of, excuse me, the combat and the traversal put together make things hard to aim.
But yeah, I have had no issues taking down the Talons
as I got better at them. I also do want to. This reminds me of something else with the combat. You will sometimes kill someone in one hit for no reason, and they don't have like a takedown symbol over them the way they do in like most games. Like I know Batman and Spider-Man have done that. And so when I was doing the mission Leigherin talked about, where you have to like find 3 people and interrogate them. I was down to my last one, but it didn't give me the option to grab and interrogate. I was like, I gotta get them down in health. I go to hit them and they fucking drop in one hit.
Has to
And
do
no
with your
one,
level. I figured it out last night.
but
If
no
you're a
one else
certain
in
number of
that
levels.
group got hit in one hit. Like
Because it has to do with how much momentum you've built up and your power, like your level. I figured out the finesse of it last night when I was trying to interrogate people. It took me a while to figure it out, but I got there. And it's a lot
just
of having to
very
use
annoying. Where I'm
AR.
like, I need to leave
Austin,
one of
before
these
you forget
motherfuckers
what.
alive.
I just think we need to move on to narrative. But if we have any last thoughts on gameplay, my follow up to that is the gameplay fun? Is the combat fun to play?
No.
Yo, Jordan and I will straight up say it. When you're playing it with somebody else, especially somebody who is also really, really into Batman, like us playing it together as Batgirl and Nightwing, we're having the time of our fucking lives. It's a great time. We sit
I
here and
feel
we
like-
talk on Discord about how we're going to attack. It's great.
I feel like you could have put a Nightwing and Batgirl action figure in front of me and Leigherin. We would have had like
We would have had a great time.
fun. Like what's fun is getting to shoot the shit with Leigherin while we like role
Sure.
play as these characters. And like we were fucking around where she like a door opened and Leigherin was like, I'm scared, go in. So as remember, Nightwing used the darts, I literally aim and walk in, and then I turn like this, like I'm acting like I'm really, on the watch. It's like, I don't have to fucking do that.
We had a great
That stuff-
glitch where we couldn't figure out why there was a door that I could see was open, but Jordan couldn't see it was open because
That's
it was
another
supposed to be
thing.
closed.
I won't say that this
And-
is the only game that does it. We've had this issue with Avengers as
I'm
well.
about to finish my sentence.
Sorry, but any online game like this needs to have a restore last checkpoint button for
Yeah.
when one person glitches and another doesn't.
Because we glitched. So this guy goes down the
common problem.
elevator, and Jordan and I assumed, because we weren't listening and weren't reading, we assumed, oh, we have to go down the elevator. How he opened the elevator was with a piano. I could see that the elevator, for me, the elevator was still open. For Jordan, the elevator was not open, and you actually had to go out a different door that Jordan and I didn't even know was there. And so I'm standing in the elevator doing a dance, yelling at Jordan because he can't figure out what to do, and he's just smashing the piano with his stick.
No, let me explain. I saw you walk up to the piano and then go in my game, go through the wall, which in your game you went through the secret
I
door.
was in the elevator.
And at the very when the gameplay kicked in after the cutscene, the first thing I did was go to play the piano, and then as you go to play it, Barbara goes, "Don't do that," and then the option goes away.
Yeah.
And so I was like, if we have to go down this fucking elevator, what am I supposed to do?
Part of this was Jordan and I can't listen, and I went back and watched somebody else play it, and it says we're not going to be able to go back down that elevator. We have to find another way out of the room. But Jordan and I were talking and missed that line. So,
classic
here we
multiplayer
fucking
That's
are.
why I'm not sure whose game glitched. Was the door
I have no
supposed to be
idea.
open or closed? We'll never fucking know.
No.
Fair enough.
All I know is that Leigherin's silhouette was behind the wall.
I was
Okay.
just having a party.
Okay, so co-op is fun, but not really to the benefit of the game. Like the game didn't really do anything to put anything in place to make that happen.
It's like, how like sometimes you'll be like one aspect of a game that's not the main aspect is serviceable. The whole game is kind of serviceable for fun. Where like I'm sure if we did a stream where like me and Leigherin dressed up as Nightwing and Batgirl for shits and giggles and just went around beating people up in Gotham, we'd have a great time. We'd make good content, but like at what cost?
And it's also like, this is a me thing, have learned I don't like playing co-op. Because when we were just on the streets, it was fun. But when you get into missions, it starts to get harder and it becomes like an escape room. I don't like doing escape rooms with other people. And when you're playing co-op, sometimes the camera, and this is like a the patch that came out yesterday is supposed to fix this, but like the camera would glitch, so I'd lose where Jordan was, and I'd think that he's fighting, so I hop over the wall to fight, which triggers the fight because Jordan was actually behind me the whole time, and just the game glitched and I couldn't see him.
Yeah, and the really shitty traversal affects co-op because we'd both be on the same rooftop and be like, let's go there, and end up at 2 different places.
Also, with the last thing on the traversal before we go into narrative, because I think this is funny, one of the glitches in that you can beat up pedestrians, just like random people in the game.
yeah.
You can just go up to citizens of Gotham and beat the shit out of them. Sometimes when you hit them with your motorcycle, the game glitches and makes it look like their head flew off, which happened to
jeez.
me, and I had to pause the game and walk away.
You said that multiple times like it was a
Murder.
feature. And I went,
Well, because I was going so fast and the frame rates would drop and it would make it look like this person's head just went flying off, and I'm hearing them scream because I just hit them. Like,
well, that's how you know their head's still on. They're screaming. But this is going to make me sound like a sociopath. Leigherin told me this. I was like, there's no way that fucking happens. And so I spent like a good 5 minutes running people over.
Jordan.
What are they going to do? They're dead now.
Definitive.
All right, narrative.
Well, real quick before we hop off of gameplay, just a couple of notes I had is for me there was one point where I had finished a mission and I was back at the Belfry, and the back computer just would not work for me. I couldn't open my whole menu system. Like basically everything, your abilities, the map, crafting,
Everything is in the back computer.
Is into the back computer, and it just wouldn't work for me. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just go out to patrol. Maybe maybe that loading screen will help like boot it back up or whatever. Could not open it then either. So I'm literally doing patrols, and I can't even open the map to find out where I'm trying to go.
Okay, that reminded me of 2 things. One, I feel like in single player, the game should pause when you open the back computer. It doesn't. You try to open it to switch out a mod or see if you got any good gear, you're getting the shit kicked out of you.
Well, why are you doing that in the middle of combat?
I would do it after like 3 guys leave, and I'm like, okay, let me check, and then somebody else would roll up on me.
Yeah, because you're standing on the street. Go on the rooftop. You can go out to the roof where there is no one else.
The game has
Anyway.
bad traversal, Leigherin.
The other thing about that same glitch happening after you reloaded, these were the pictures I was trying to send in the group chat today, and Discord wouldn't let me send them. During a cutscene, Jason's hoodie strings were just sticking out like this. I sent Leigherin the pictures. It's fucking hilarious. And I went, okay, like bugs happen in this is not, that was like one of the bugs where I'm like, this is not the thing that makes me go, I fucking hate this game.
Mm-hmm.
Cutscene ends, I go on patrol. Patrol ends, I go back to the Belfry. This man is doing lifts with his hoodie strings still up. Nope, that's your.
Oh my god,
Great.
my phone's having
Fantastic.
a meltdown. Can you see them? They're sticking just straight out right there.
Oh yeah.
Take your word for it.
I'll try to do it.
But yeah,
Oh,
the
God.
game's buggy as fuck. Like,
Great.
there are a lot of
Fantastic.
very dumb bugs.
Those
Because
two, like,
gosh.
black lines.
are
Oh yeah.
And so even
Um,
after reloading into like the home base, they're still.
They're just like that now. It's like they
Yeah.
T-posed.
However, what we are all glossing over, Alec because he hasn't gotten there, and Jordan, I don't know if he saw it. This game does establish that in the game universe, canonically, there is Batman the Musical, and Jim Gordon used to like to go because he thought it was funny how
gosh.
fucking ridiculous it is.
I did not pick up on that.
If you didn't go to doing some of Harley's stuff, which I was just doing to grind so that my points could go up so I could go back to the main story, you go into this theater and there's a Batman the Musical poster, and if you go near it, they'll talk about that canonically there is a Batman the Musical. It is completely incorrect that the other children would try to get Bruce to go watch it and he wouldn't, and Jim Gordon would go all the time because he thought it was funny.
I love that.
Um,
S- You said one thing that I just want to also mention before we get into narrative. The game has a level curve that sneaks up on you after like
Yeah.
chapter 5. Like I was doing okay, not doing too many side stuff and keeping up with the level, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I need to grind a bit.
yeah.
It's not unusual,
game's
but
buggy
it's
as
always
fuck.
unfortunate.
And it's just kind of a mess because it's buggy. But narrative. This is
All
where
right,
I'm
still
going to
had a couple
complain a little bit
things.
Alec had
when
one more
Alec
thing.
is done.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are 2 quick things, but like when I'm trying to do the main objective and mainline the story to try and get as much done as possible, keep the main objective on the screen. I was trying
Yeah.
to do like the Penguin stuff to get, his storyline going to do the thing. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell I needed to do to progress this. And the only way I could do it was by opening the menu system and like going into my case files, and which was like 2 or 3 menus deep to figure out what I needed to do. Like
Then find the
their
location
quest
and mark the
log
location.
is so dumb. Like it should be like most games, like when you scan, it like pops up what your objective is. This game does not have that. And it like
Or at
removes
least
the
like the first
waypoints
thing you
from
see
me.
in the
Like,
pause menu.
There is one thing that you can tap, and your case files will automatically come up on the side.
right, but like it wasn't telling me which one was like for the main objective that I needed to progress. They were all still
Yeah, they
kinda
don't tell you that
collapsed.
it's yellow. It's always yellow. There is a color system, but they do not explain the color system
Exactly.
to you because it's yellow is the main objective. Anything for the main objective is coming up yellow. Anything for any of the other villains. So far, I've only had Dr. Freeze, Harley Quinn, and Clayman because I've been trying to finish the main story. They come up as orange, which let me tell you, when you're trying to do a side quest that it's requiring you to do, and you've already opened multiple villains trying to figure out which orange triangle is yours, is real fucking annoying. And then everything else, like your side quests, are white.
Gotcha.
But they don't explain that to you. They just leave you to figure that out on your
They
own.
don't explain anything to
Good
you.
luck.
There's no tutorial in this game.
No. And honestly, I kind of enjoyed it. I hate tutorials. Let me figure it out on my own.
See,
But
I'm
they're
not
boring,
against
but
long,
they're necessary.
I'm not against long cutscenes if they draw me in. But I honestly think doing the tutorial during the Batman and Ross fight, like at the beginning, just for the basic like 4 combat things.
Why?
been
It's a
helpful.
character you're never going to play with.
But the mechanics stay the same.
And my last thing, going back to like the whole loot thing. So like most loot games, you have power levels in this game. You're like your level for your items and whatnot. This game does that in a very weird way where it's not like, hey, here's a chest, let me open it, and you get an item. You get crafting materials, so you don't get that endorphin rush. It's like, oh, these are just more crafting materials. Like in Destiny, you finish a mission, you get a chest. You get that chest has items, and that usually are better items than what you have. Numbers go up, boom, you're happy. You get happy feelings. This game does not have that. It's like
What can you craft?
So
you
it's you're
craft
just getting
your mods, your suits, your weapons, your basically.
So you get crafting materials for everything. You get them
Yeah.
after finishing objectives, you get them from chests, you get them from doing later on when you open like the races, and like the time trials. You get just like there are various things that like are in universe. Think like vibranium. Like there are things like that that exist in DC that it's how they make their like it's all the yada yada science crap.
But would it have been so easy in a
And
one-to-one to instead put the items that you're just able to craft as what you
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Is that
get?
like
Okay.
any of-
That's my follow-up question.
like Division? Like think of any looter shooter. You open a chest, you get an item that's better than what you have.
They
Your
had a
numbers go up.
plan.
This it's basically you're the middleman that you have to craft the better stuff instead of just
And it's-
getting it from the chest.
And it's
Yeah.
because it's a Batman game. It's because they're like, oh, well, that's the whole part of them is that they build their stuff. They do go out and buy supplies and have a workbench where they make and upgrade their stuff. And so it's one of the parts of the game where I feel like the game suffers a little bit depending on what kind of player you are for the sake of trying to be realistic to the source material, which feels like something the game struggled with as a whole, is that they wanted to be super honest to the source material, but also be accessible is not the right word, but like they wanted to every card in the pack to be able to play the way they prefer to play, and so they struggled.
Because this game just doesn't know what it wants to be. Because it's trying to be one of those looter shooter games where you try to craft and get better equipment, but at the same time it's trying to be an Arkham game, but it's failing at that. So it's just like it has an identity crisis.
I feel like a mix of both crafting and getting just the actual items themselves would have been okay. The thing that pisses me off is the main 3 things that you can you can craft is your suit, which is like your basic defense and power, your melee attack, and your ranged attack. And like you obviously those get better the further you get in the game. If you craft a better item, you can't use it until you go back to the home base and pick it up. And like any other game like this where you're going through level, you kind of are getting better through that level.
Sure.
Like you know,
and in a game with bad traversal, having to get back to a certain location.
Well, the Belfry
Well,
is the one place that you can fast travel to from the beginning
My
of
mistake.
time. They,
And I
no,
did
we didn't
all
explain.
the
We didn't
time.
talk about the Belfry at all because I was going to talk about it in narrative. But basically, they established very early on, since the Batcave is destroyed in the first 2 minutes of the game, that Bruce left the Belfry to the rest of them, and that's what they're using as their home
Archaic
base.
system.
Yes, with their
I laugh
old
at that.
system. It's a bell tower in a building that Wayne Enterprises owns. And so that is the one place you can fast travel to regardless.
Fair enough.
Narrative?
That all my gameplay gripes are done.
I'm going to complain real quick about the narrative.
Take it away.
I understand that, right, like I said at the beginning of this, I learned in my writing for video games class that I do not want to write for video games. It's a bad time. It's very hard because you have to take care of all of your like branches, and this is a game where like I can be playing as Jason for 6 hours and then suddenly decide I want to be Barbara. Like, I get that that is a lot of branches and a lot of trees to keep track of. However, it is insane to me that the dialogue in all the cutscenes is exactly the same regardless of who you're playing as, with the exception of 1 or 2 lines. The big example that most people will absolutely see, because you have to, is in the Harley Quinn cutscene when you go to Blackgate Penitentiary.
Yeah.
When you go to Blackgate Penitentiary and see Harley, you can go as whoever you want. If you go as Dick, Barbara, or Jason, she makes some like weird comment about like she hits on Dick, which is like very in character for her. She makes jokes about her and Batgirl being best friends. I don't really remember what she says to Jason. It's
I
stupid.
think she just hits on him too, or like says something about him being dead.
Or she goes,
Yeah.
"You're back." Yeah.
One and the
Yeah.
same.
And then Tim goes in. And the comment she makes to Tim was, I heard there was a new, like, bird brain or whatever, like a joke about him being the new Robin. And then it goes back to the same cutscene you've seen with every other character, and she says, would it have killed you to visit me sooner? And she makes comments that make it sound like she's known Tim the same amount of time she's known the other 3, but she literally just commented on how she doesn't know Tim. And I feel like there could have been more branches in this situation. Like, and they didn't even have to be long. Like, I just, like, I don't know. Like, or like, the other one is you walk in at one point on Talia cremating her father's body. Jason's response to talking to Talia about the Lazarus pit should be wildly different than
Oh yeah.
Jason, or than Dick talking to her about the Lazarus pit, because Jason has like some deep-seated trauma attached to it. And to Talia, they're exactly the same. Like, and it's really what?
You can finish this thought. I'm going to just piggyback off what you're saying.
And it's just, it really irritates me because I feel like there are moments where early in the game, there could have been more branches. As you get further into the game gets pretty, especially with Talia, it gets pretty streamlined, where I understand the interactions being about the same. It's reacting to the exact same situation. And canonically, the other 3 are, for these levels when you get later on, canonically, the other 3 are in the building doing something. You're just all in different parts of the building and talking over comms. So that I get it. It's just in the beginning of the game, I feel like there could have been a few more branches, especially because you're not choosing dialogue. So it's not a complicated branch in that way. It's just 4 branches, 1 for each character, about how the cutscene goes until you get to the combat portion. Yes, Jordan.
To piggyback off that, I 100% agree. I remember talking to you about it. It doesn't even have to be that every cutscene got 4 different branches. It could have been like 3 out of 4 of them are the same, and then 1's unique. And I think the best comparison I could make is like in fighting games, and I'll use Injustice because it's still DC characters. If you put like Batman up against like Mr. Freeze or the Joker or even the Flash, like he will always have the same opening line and those three will always have the same opening line. But if you do something special, like you put Batman in front of that universe's Damian Wayne, there will be a unique set of dialogue. So I feel like they should have just looked over this specific character interactions and been like, oh, for this one with this character, it should change. Because I'm not also going to expect the writers to suddenly do 4 times the work.
But that's what I'm saying, is that it's not 4 times the work. It only needs to be like extra work for like maybe the first 2 hours of the game. The game gets pretty streamlined
I
after
also
that.
feel like you also could have just changed the thing that gets said to everyone to just. I feel like instead of her saying, "Oh, you didn't visit me," she could have just been said like, "I've been dying for visitors," and the same thing.
Or
would
you
have
could have
came
just
across.
cut the line. You could have just had her
Yeah.
walk away.
Because the line makes no sense, really.
Well, because I get it. I get it with Barbara and I get it with Dick, because Dick is constantly with Harley, canonically, is constantly like, I don't think she's a bad person. I think she's a battered woman. And everybody kind of has to be like, yes, she was a battered woman, but she also has done her own bad things. So, like, stop acting like she's a puppy dog that, like, is not going to do anything. But, like, you know, that's the only one you feel like you get a personalized thing is whenever any of them talk to Alfred.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will say, again, with the heroic stories, how they handle Barbara's being less about her relationship with Bruce, because her relationship with Bruce, for the most part, was fine, because she wasn't his child, and being all about, did she abandon her father for Bruce, and all the secrets she kept from her father about her life. And there's this whole thing about how Montoya says the statue they put up of Jim Gordon looks nothing like him, but Barbara thought it was a perfect likeness, and that kind of sends her on a spiral. And it's a really, really beautiful story about like her trying to balance her life. Tim, where they go with him is a choice. I don't know if I like it or not yet. It's one of those. However, what I will truly applaud the game for, Tim is canonically queer in the game, and they heavily imply that Nightwing is also canonically queer, and there is an entire thread between Jason and Barbara talking about going with Dick and Tim to Pride to support them. There are Pride flags everywhere. Dick is drinking out of a bi Pride flag Bloodhaven mug, which the fact that that's a sentence I'm saying is very funny. And I will applaud them for that, because they're also not over the top with it. It's literally just little things that are said in the background or things that decorate the belfry, which is
Even some
nice.
of the colorways on their suits or the bike.
Yeah. And I feel like those are fun little ways to be like, yeah, this is who the character is. I like that we're taking Dick Grayson and making him truly just will fuck anything that moves.
And that is not
will
a stereotype
literally-
against pan or bi people. That is a stereotype against
Dick
Dick Grayson
Grayson.
specifically.
Yes.
They fall into the same pitfall that anything that puts Batgirl in it does, which is they want to put her with Jason or Dick. They cannot decide who, because the general consensus now is that Dick treats Barbara like crap, which is absolutely true. He does. And so a lot of people don't like them together. And so there are just these really weird flirting scenes between both sets. And it just like, it's kind of like, why does this, I almost died last night. I don't give a shit about this right now. Like, and then you'll have emails from other people that Dick canonically sleeps with and that Jason sleeps with. So then it just feels gross, because you, like, when you're playing as Dick, you've just hit on Barbara for like 5 minutes and have a whole thread where you're weirdly flirting with her with like stupid owl puns. And then you'll go into your email and you have an email from a girl being like, you want to come over? And it's like, I feel like
Come
I'm
on.
cheating and
I've
I
been to
haven't done
college.
Hey, hey.
All right. I've been there.
You've read the Young Justice comics. What is Dick Grayson's superpower? He can stay friends with all his exes. That is an actual line. I'm not kidding.
And that's only true in the Young Justice universe. 99% of his girlfriends don't like him in the actual comics.
stay in Young
Because he
Justice.
treats them like crap. And it just like I was like, I feel like I'm cheating and I'm not this person, but I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Like, so yeah, the narrative structure is fine. It follows something it's almost 1-to-1 from the comics. but it blends two stories that were not originally together, which I always think is a choice that maybe we shouldn't make.
Successfully?
No.
Or okay.
I'm the furthest into the game, so I just want to give my general narrative thoughts, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I think sorry, just to all the relationship stuff, I like, and I don't mean like romantic relationship. I mean the dynamic between the four of them is great. It reminds me, I think, why I just enjoy these characters. Occasionally the dialogue does feel like they're taking quotes from Incorrect Batman on Tumblr and just applying it here. The game says something's gonna happen between two things. I'm gonna be very vague here. Kind of one thing happens, then the second part gets introduced, and guys, I'm on the last boss fight right now, and this game falls apart in the last two fucking chapters.
Yeah, they're doing a storyline that people did not love when they introduced it in the comics because it feels like character assassination. Is it?
No,
The world
it gets
may
even
never
weirder.
know.
It gets even
Jordan,
worse.
I know how it ends. I've watched all the final. I know exactly how the game ends.
The middle thing between the...
I know. They
She
did
knows,
it in the
Jordan.
comics. It was a very poor choice then that people did not like.
So I guess my follow-up question to that, just real quick, because people didn't like it in the comics, would it have been easy to fix it here in the game narratively?
No, I think it's just throw it out. I think that everybody really what
Just making
it comes
sure-
down to the Al Ghul's.
Okay, I'm just making
And
sure
I-
it wasn't like an easy dub that they just
No.
squandered narratively.
No. I think this is where they got a little too big for their britches because it feels like they were like, well, this is a Batman thing. We have to introduce one of his fucking disaster zones of a relationship, whether it be,
Pick of
whoever.
the litter.
And they pick the Al Ghul's because the relationship there is the most interesting. But then they're shoehorning a story about the League of Shadows into a story about the Court of Owls in a way that, like,
Ooh.
does not work. Yeah, sorry, Alec. But you said you were probably never going to play this game again, so, like, here we fucking are. In a way that just, like, those two things don't need to come together.
They're like the same. There's two shadow organizations. Like,
And the problem is...
why?
There is a line where somebody from the League goes, the Court of Owls is upholding... Or no, somebody from the Court of Owls goes, the League of Shadows... They want to kill everybody in Gotham to cleanse it. We're cleansing it by killing very specific people. And that argument really falls flat because, like, you're both causing mass panic and murdering innocent people. So, like, what? Like,
One of
it
them was
just,
on
like,
their high horse about it.
So
they should have picked one. And there's a level, when you get to level 6, we got to that level and I went, huh. This is happening now level 5. And I was like, this is the climax to this story. We're doing it here with 3, it really, them trying to shoehorn these two things together did not work. And I think if you needed to have that weird element of, oh, I knew Bruce too, and I knew a different Bruce than you because we fuck and had this really volatile relationship, just introduce Catwoman as a side character. Like, just introduce Catwoman. I don't understand. Just make, like, levels, like, 3 through 4, you dealing with Selina. Like, I don't, especially because there's so much established of if Bruce were ever to die, Selina would absolutely be back on her bullshit. So, like, just make it that her way of handling Bruce's death is working with Harley and Freeze and let that be some early levels and then get into the Court of Owls stuff and just leave. Like, I don't understand why it had to be Talia. It didn't have to be Talia.
Since you mentioned both, I'll be more clear. The game implies that they're like, at the point where things start coming together, they're like, there's going to be a war between the League and the Court of Owls, and the people getting caught in the middle will be Gotham.
They literally say Gotham will be ground zero for a war between the Court of Owls and the League.
A war doesn't happen. You wrap up one storyline and then the other kind of starts.
And I don't like that they keep saying with the League of Shadows just the League, because then I just automatically think of the Justice League, because everybody calls it the League of Shadows or the Shadows and calls the Justice League the Justice League. This game just really struggles with trying to figure out it really feels like a bunch of Batman fans and Bat Family fans that were so excited to make a Batman game that they wanted to cram all of their favorite things about Batman and the Bat Family into one game. And you can feel that. It's not a good thing. It's not
Yeah.
fun.
I don't want to go too in depth in this, but is there a saving grace to the narrative? Is there something that
I think the
absolutely
relationship
shines?
between the Four and Alfred and
Okay.
exploring their relationship with Bruce is beautiful. And I can like to go through to be able to see those elements of the narrative. I think it makes it okay.
Okay.
It's
enough.
just we just needed one. There were too many cooks in the kitchen. Is really what this game feels like at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Which
I had
is
a
why.
really cool. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to go into ratings. So if you have more to say,
Gotcha.
do now.
Yeah,
I have one
and
follow-up
just
question before we get into that.
Okay.
I was gonna say I had a really cool cutscene last night just with Alfred. Like, there's just one of those scenes where it's like, hey, it's getting kind of late, and Alfred just said he was out for a walk, and like, you're just like, you want to go check in on him? And it was just get this really cool cutscene with him and a friend just talking.
I love
And
those
then,
kinds of
boss.
games.
Yeah, it was just one, and then like one of the grunts or whatever just walks
One
up
of the
to
freaks,
them and
yeah.
tries robbing them, and then they both, cause since him and his friend were both in the military, they do this dope about face, and the dude's just like, okay, I'm gonna go.
Psych. All right, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, so it's like kind of along that same thing. It's like the chemistry between the core group is really cool. I do really like that.
Okay, so that's a plus. Awesome. This is definitely just a me question. So take this for what it is. There are 4 crime-fighting characters in this game. Would this game have been better? It just has a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game.
I don't know anything about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
don't have
so I
to.
cannot answer this question.
Alec, Jordan, anything?
I would say no, because I feel like in a TMNT game, you'd want to be able to switch between all 4 of them at any given moment. My take. If you want
Yeah.
more elaboration on that, watch our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pitch it, where I kind of suggest that.
It's true. What a plug. I forgot that was a thing that happened. Definitely just a me question, because when I saw this announced, my first thought was 4 playable characters fighting crime. Oh my god, big city, TMNT. And then it was, it Gotham Knights. Anyway,
Sure, someone's gonna make a mod.
Oh, I'm sure.
I hope so. I hope
But-
so.
Although, what would
That'd
they?
be
Would they just be like ninja like shurikens for the range attack?
Probably.
Or just
And then
tech
you-
from Donnie.
And then one of the ninjas, one
True.
of the turtles, are gonna have to use guns.
Yeah,
No.
Um.
Raph going into his persona. I don't remember what it's called, but
oh, yeah.
All right. So
Leigherin,
yeah,
if you were to give this game a score between 1 and 10, 20-point scale, what would it be?
I would say a solid 6.
A solid
If you're a fan of the
6.
franchise, you're gonna be like me. You're gonna like it a little bit better than that. If you're
You're a
not a
fan
huge
of the
fan of
franchise?
Batman, it's like a solid it's playable, but you can definitely skip it. Like God of War comes out next month. Don't sink if you're like Jordan, where you can only play one game at a time for some bizarre fucking reason.
It's me too. for the
Don't
most
sink
part.
your time into this trying to finish it before God of War. Just play something else until God of War comes out. Because to be able to complete it, the amount of fucking grinding you're gonna have to do. Jordan and I have been playing this game nonstop for like 5 hours a night for the past since it came out.
I appreciate your hard work and your sacrifice. I appreciate it very much.
Ooh, I
Sorry.
haven't worked out. My body is feeling it.
They also got the release date wrong. Steam
Was
would
that just
not.
on- Was that just on Steam or was that everywhere?
Confused by this because I played it Friday night and I didn't understand why you weren't able to play it.
That game was saying
Yeah, I played it
it's not
Friday
available
night.
till
I know.
Saturday, and I
Yeah,
posted a
I
picture of it.
downloaded
And
it. Yeah, I downloaded it perfectly fine on Steam on Friday and played it.
It's a Jordan thing.
I'm gonna become the goddamn Joker. I swear to God.
Yeah,
This is
Jordan.
the origin story. Here it is.
I don't know if it's because he was on his laptop or what was happening, but Jordan was really struggling with some stuff. Like it was
did
very
see-
weird.
I did see the screenshot and I did see what it said. So
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw the
And
proof.
I'm not the only person who that happened to.
Fair enough. It was an issue for very few people.
Yeah.
It sounds like. But okay, so just real quick, Jordan, Alec, Jordan played most of the game, but Alec, you played like 6 hours. Does a 6 sound right? Does that sound serviceable
Yeah.
for us as a score? Mediocre at best.
I'm personally a 5, but I can see the argument for a 6.
And she did preface that like she's a huge Bat fan, so
Yeah.
there it is.
I also had more performance issues than Leigherin for some reason, even though I'm rocking a 3050 Ti and an i7 in this laptop, and my
Just dropping
grandmother, who's
things.
confined to a walker, can run better than this game.
Yeah, Jordan was just he was surely having a lot of performance issues that I
Well-
was just not having that I feel like may have deeply affected that.
I know laptop graphics cards tend to be like a more powered down version of like their desktop counterparts. So
But
maybe
that's
that's
still a whole new
Because
generation.
the biggest thing I will bring up is Jordan says that in the open world, he gets a lot of frame rate drops. Like I said earlier, I don't get any frame rate drops in open world. It's literally only when I'm on the motorcycle.
Yeah, I noticed a couple frame drops. Like it was nothing like major.
Yeah.
But it's just because maybe I was trying because I was running with like ray tracing and like I was trying to get some
That's the
good
thing.
performance out of this.
Is it pretty? Is it pretty?
Yeah, Arkham
I
Knight.
don't
looked
know.
better.
No.
Arkham Knight looked better. I'm just gonna say it.
The design to
enough.
Gotham's cool. It's really neon, super purple, which is fun.
Cool color scheme. Okay, that's there's some points there.
Like my background is kind of the color scheme of the game.
Cool. Very nice. I like it.
Oh,
I was having issues with
the
text.
Spy Hunter arcade game in the Belfry was so much fun. And every time I go
Yes,
back,
that
I
was
always
also
should
very
do
fun.
a run or two in that. It's really like an old Midway arcade cabinet that you can go and actually play the game.
Yes. I feel like I've been shitting on this game the most. I want to say there's I'm more
The attention to
disappointed than
detail
I
is crazy.
am just angry because it's like there are good threads here, and I just feel like they dropped the ball so much.
There were too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm telling you, like over the
Yeah.
course of this conversation, I really realized it was just a lot of people who were very excited about what they were making. And that's not always the best thing, because when you have a lot of people who are all excited about what they're making, they all want to put the parts that they're like, think about if you were making a Batman game, you were sitting down to make a game about these four. You, Jordan, are going to push for things about Nightwing that you really, really like to be in that game, while other people are going to push really, really hard for things they like to be in that game. And so, like, I really think it was too many people who wanted to do too many things with one title. But,
Fair enough.
so yeah.
Okay.
Wait till it's
Games-
on sale. Wait till Steam has that massive
Game
sale and
Pass.
then buy it.
There
Yeah,
you go.
Game Pass, like,
PS Plus.
Is it on Game
Plus.
Pass, or are you saying wait
No,
for it to come?
wait
to
till
Wait
we're
for
saying
it.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So Gotham Knights gets a 6 from shared screens. Are there any closing comments before I get us out of here? 6 sound great. Not
to say
even.
it
Not
was-
even. This was cool.
No, I was just saying it was just very cathartic talking about it and kind of just getting everything out.
Okay.
Like I said, I probably won't be
Wow.
going back to this game for a while, but so it was just nice to get all those rants out because this game there's just things that's like, why are you doing it this way?
Alec had more fun ranting about how much he didn't like the game than playing the game. That's not
Yes.
good.
Playing this game was the first time I understood my parents saying to me that I was wasting my potential in school and not applying myself. Like I got it playing this. I was like, oh.
How bad it was, or like did a character resonate with you?
No, like the entire game design, I was like, oh, this is if the conversations between my parents and me where I would tell them that I was trying my hardest in math and they were telling me that I was not applying myself. If that were a game, it is Gotham Knights.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Like,
I understood that.
Where
yeah.
I think I
No.
am doing the best I
agree.
can, but everybody else knows I'm really not trying that hard. Like it's a lot.
See. Okay, well that's been our review of Gotham Knights. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all those fun things on all the socials, TikTok, YouTube, all that fun stuff. So thank you for watching. I'm gonna wave goodbye to the camera. Goodbye. Thank you.